Innovators, it's me Jordan here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now Innovators, a few months ago I made a review for a TV show called Stargirl. It was just the first 3 episodes. I was just in such a rush to get a review out because I love the show and I really wanted to talk about it with others. And so I put out a review for the first 3 episodes, which you can check out by clicking that link up there. But now the first season has come to an end, and so I feel it is necessary to, talk about the whole season and, how my thoughts changed from the first 3 episodes to, the final episode. So yeah, I'm really excited to tell you guys all about my thoughts on season 1. Obviously there will be spoilers, so please be prepared if you've not seen Stargirl. Well, first of all, if you haven't seen Stargirl, what are you doing? Stop watching this video, pause it, go watch all 13 episodes of Stargirl, and then come back afterwards. But yeah, it's just an amazing show. You definitely should watch it. But anyway, yes. So anyway, you haven't seen it, then go and catch up and come back. So if you've seen my other movie and TV reviews, with some exceptions, you know how my format works. I'll be splitting the review into 3 different parts, which consists of the good stuff, the things that I loved about the season, the things that were mixed, that were like, they were okay. I didn't love them, I didn't hate them, they were just, they were okay. And the things that I just did not like and the bad stuff. So yeah, without further ado, let's commence the review for the first season of Stargirl. Okay, so I just met Stephen Amell. The cinematography of this movie was incredible. Okay, so before we start this review, I just want to give a massive shout out to Mike Dugan himself, Trae Romano, for checking out my previous review. I don't know if you're watching this one, but if you are, thank you so much. Like, you did such a great job in season 1, and I'm so excited to see where you and the writers take Mike's character next season, because I really enjoyed your character in the first, and so I'm really excited to see what you guys do with him next. Alright, now let's get started with the review. Now, kicking off the review is the good stuff, which are the things that I enjoyed about this season, and there is a lot in this category. Alright, so let's begin. So as I spoke about in my original review for Stargirl, the series is composed of a brilliant cast. While I never really got to see or meet Courtney Jones, Geoff John's sister, who the character of Stargirl is actually made after and, based off, from what I've heard from Geoff, Bassinger embodies the characteristics, the youthfulness and overall persona of Courtney very well. She truly is Stargirl, and this whole show was a great tribute to her. You got to see like the photos in the pilot and at the end, and I just thought it was a great way to honour her. And I just found it very moving that, this whole show is dedicated to Geoff's sister and everything. I thought that was really something special about the show. The amazing supporting cast consists of Amy Smart as Barbara and Luke Wilson as Pat, of which I think they were very well cast. Even after doing some research, I discovered that they both have a very extensive resume. Like, Luke Wilson was on Legally Blonde and like all these massive movies. I was like, wow, I didn't really know how much he'd done. Anyway, I think all the characters were very well cast, including like Gellman as Hourman, Trae Romano as Mike Dugan, and like, Yvette Monreal as Wildcat. Like, all these people, I think that they were all very well cast. It was just a great cast, and they looked like they have great chemistry both on and off screen, and I really liked that about this season. As I also spoke about in the last review, the cinematography and visual effects in this series are on another level. It looks so good. It literally looks like movie quality level. Like, that is definitely one thing I'm concerned about when it moves to the CW next season from DC Universe. However, I'm concerned more about the storyline than the CGI, and if the same writers and showrunners will be on board next season, then, which by the looks of it they will be, then that's what's more important to me. Obviously, the CGI is a bonus if it's great. It was a bonus this season, but hey, I've already seen The Flash for 6 seasons, so I know how bad CGI can get. So obviously I'll miss the amazing CGI next season. I mean, it could still be the same. CW could exceed my expectations, but I'll probably have low standards going into it. Anyway, I just really like the CGI and cinematography this season. The set designs and costuming were also exceptional. I once again stated in my previous Stargirl review that I didn't really like many costumes. Like Hourman, I thought the cape was like cheap cosplay or whatever. However, throughout the season, they definitely grew on me. I really started to like the fabric and everything of Hourman's suit. I also said that the soundtrack wasn't anything too special in the last review. That also really grew on me. I really started to enjoy it throughout the season. I really love the whole like coming of age theme to Stargirl. So like, and the way in which they were able to balance all these different storylines, which, at the start they seemed so out of place. They somehow made like all of them interconnect in the end. Like, for example, in the first few episodes, Pat was like being trained by a sportsmaster and Barbara at the workplace. Both storylines just felt really out of place, but like we discovered that both Jordan, who's Icicle, and Larry, who's sportsmaster, they're both members of the Injustice Society, and then all the storylines collide, and it leads to a very satisfying conclusion. Like, as well as metaphorically interconnecting all these storylines, they literally connected these storylines through the underground tunnels, connecting all the different ISA locations together. That was really cool. That was a great design. Another thing I loved about this season, as I said, there were many things in this category, but another thing I loved about this season was that it was only 13 episodes. episodes, and it did not have to like have as many filler episodes and feel as if the storyline was dragged out to fit 23 episodes. The short and sharp format enabled a fast-paced season where like every episode mattered to the overall story. Like this is another thing that I'm concerned about when Stargirl moves to the CW. Like, will it be dragged out for 23 episodes, or will it still have 13 episodes? If it doesn't have 13 episodes, this probably will make for a very tedious and lackluster storyline. Like, take Flash Season 4, for example, where they had to do this body swapping and everything to drag it out for 23 episodes. Fingers crossed it won't have to be dragged out to 23 episodes, as if Stargirl is anything like it was this season, next season has a lot of potential. The character arcs and evolution throughout the season is like no other. The way the writers are able to make characters, like in particular Harry King Jr., that you never thought you'd grow to love so much, and I actually hated him at the beginning of the season, and they somehow make you sob like crazy when they die. Like, to be honest, I'm getting emotional even thinking about his death right now. Like, that scene was just, oh jeez. The way they allow you to connect with the characters and, you know, make them relatable and tell their story arcs was just exceptional. Like, I love that they had character-centered episodes, which while still contributing to the overall storyline, also allowed us like to get to know the characters better. Having flashbacks through the episodes, like in particular Wildcat's episode, episode 4, and Icicle's episode. Like, the flashbacks was a great device to, you know, highlight their backstory and everything, and I thought that was very, very well used throughout the season. The dynamics between characters, in particular the Justice Society of America, I love their relationship together, and the family relationship together too, and the mother and the brother, you know, at that art thing, and obviously, you know, Pat and Courtney. All the dynamics together, they worked really, really well. Obviously, this comes down to the casting as well, but it also comes down to the writing and everything, and I thought that was very, very well executed and portrayed in my opinion. Along with this, I love the build-up and Easter eggs that were planted throughout the season, which kind of like gives you a taste as to what is to come. Like, the subtle yet major hints gets me even more intrigued as to like what will happen next. For example, like the pink pen, which people believe might be given to Jakeem Thunder, who's like Thunderbolt in the comics, who happens to be a friend of Mark already in the show, or, you know, ice slowly coming out of Cameron Mahkent's mouth, and maybe who might become Icicle Jr., who knows, or, you know, the Green Lantern and everything. Like, will she give that to somebody else, and we'll see Green Lantern in season 2? Like, all these different teasers gets me really excited as to what will come next season and next week's fandom, so I wonder what will be announced there in regards to the future of the season. Obviously, I'll have a video out next week about everything we learned from fandom part 2, but anyway, these teasers and these subtle yet major hints as to what is to come was really, really well executed and gets me so much more pumped for season 2. The final thing in this category are the villains. That's it. The villains. They were amazing throughout the season. I haven't loved villains, in particular Brainwave, Icicle, Shiv, like as much as I have in years. Like Christopher James Baker, Neil Jackson, they were all incredible actors to, you know, portray these villains. And I love the entire build-up throughout the ISA throughout the season. You know, we started to see subtle hints at the beginning of Sportsmaster and Solomon Grundy, and towards the end they come out and reveal their true self and we get to see more about them. I thought that was really, really well executed. And the suspense that was built, that was just amazing. Some villains were obviously better than others. For example, Brainwave, Icicle, and Shiv. Those are my 3 personal favourite villains. But they were all very, very consistent and helped to build a compelling narrative throughout the entire season. Their plan was really, really cool. The final 2 episodes weren't as great as I hoped, but still, I think the plan and, you know, the entire ISA headquarters and everything, just everything to do with these villains, I loved throughout the season. They were one of the best things about the season and what kept me hooked throughout it. And I'm so excited to see. So I remember in an interview, Geoff Johns said that definitely Brainwave's dead, but he never said Icicle's officially dead. So maybe Icicle will come back in season 2? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, that is everything I have in the good stuff. Now let's move on to the next section in this review, which are the mixed stuff, which are the things that I didn't love, but I didn't hate. They're mixed for me. So this is the mixed stuff. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing in the mixed category is something that may be controversial, but I'm willing to accept the criticism for it. People always say that they don't like a storyline because it's not comic book accurate or, you know, isn't faithful to the source material. Now, as I have not read many comic books, I may be biased by saying this, but I've always said I care more about the actual quality of the storyline rather than, you know, the comic book accuracy. Now, of course, if something is very comic book accurate and well executed, that's amazing. But I tend to look for the quality of the storyline over the accuracy. However, this show is an exception, because while it is absolutely so well written and has so many great characters, I felt it to be a little bit too campy and faithful to the comics that it came off as a little disingenuous. Like, comic book accurate and well written, like the two together is just amazing. But for me, I think this show could have been a little bit more original. I felt that it was too comic book accurate, that it just didn't really feel right. Because I feel, you know, not everything in the comics translates well into the live action. And the fact that they pretty much ripped this whole storyline straight out of the comics onto the screen, you know, I didn't think it translated as well as it could have. Like, specifically with Dragon King and Tigress. Like, everyone was saying how menacing Dragon King was and everything. I could never really take him seriously, to be honest. Like, every time he came on screen, I was just like, I laughed. Like, don't get me wrong, he was very well written, and obviously the actor did a great job, and I loved his relationship with Shiv and everything. But I still feel like the concept and the costume was it was borderline campy, in my opinion. Like, the costume, like, what is that? But obviously, like, all superhero shows are unrealistic, so why do I have a problem with this one, in the campiness of this show? I have no idea why. But I still think it was a great show with some great writing and some great characters. But I also didn't really like some things which I felt to be campy. So yeah, that's why it's in the mixed stuff. Now, this may seem like an oxymoron, but I felt as if the show wasn't really one, you binge and you anticipate every single week to watch. Look, I loved season 1. Obviously, as I said, it was a little bit campy, but I loved season 1. But it still wasn't that show for me that I looked forward to every week and, I couldn't wait for the next episode. Like, there's a difference between, favourite and best. And while I feel like it was a very well executed and written show, and I enjoyed it very, very much when I did watch it, it wasn't really one that I felt extremely attached to, that I really wanted to watch every single week, like I am for the rest of the Arrowverse shows, that I desperately wanted to watch ASAP. It was just one that, well, when I did watch it, when I got around to watching it, I loved it, but it wasn't something that, I desperately wanted to watch as soon as possible. I also think that, as stated previously in my last review, this show is very coincidental. Like, they all happen to be going to the same school or happen to be working at the same place. Like, this kind of adds to my point about it being too campy. Like, I know it's a comic book show. It's supposed to be unrealistic. It's supposed to be a little bit disingenuous. But this show just felt too off the edge. Like, considering I watched Legends, I don't know why this is such a big problem, but I don't know, just some things, not everything, but some things just felt so coincidental and so unrealistic that it just annoyed me a little bit. But so obviously it's a comic book show, so I need to have some suspension of disbelief. But yeah, that was one thing slightly putting me off. But obviously, I know these are quite conflicting messages. Obviously, it's hard to explain. But I loved this show, but sometimes I felt like it was just the borderline unrealistic that I didn't, really take it seriously. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, with that in mind, let's move on to the next section, which are the bad stuff, the things that I did not like about this season at all. And there is very few things in here. So let's go. Okay, so I've only got about 3 things in this category, and the first is that they killed Joey and his father. The second problem I have with this season is they killed Brainwave Jr. And the third problem I have with this season is Cindy is a terrible person, that she's a terribly good villain that I don't want to love, but I do. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I mean, I still am really annoyed about all those 3 things, but yeah, anyway, so these are my real issues with the season. The first is that, look, obviously, one of my main complaints in regards to the formatting of the show was that, I said it in my previous review, was that, the show came out 2 days after on the CW on the DC Universe, and therefore the possibility of, spoiling the episode was highly likely. I mean, I won't go into much depth about this and why that was a bad idea in this review. If you want to check out me speaking about that issue in depth, feel free to check out my previous review, linked before in the cards, or click the link in the description. But luckily, that issue has been resolved, as it will only be on the CW next season, so it's not exclusive to a streaming service, which not everyone has. It's free to air TV, and everyone will be able to see it at the same time, so that's really, really good. The second problem is that the first 3 episodes were shorter, therefore people watching it on the CW may not have understood it as well as other people watching it on the DC Universe, which, I mean, is kind of unfair. However, from episode 4 onwards, all the episodes are 42 minutes on both CW and the DC Universe, the average CW length. But while this is great that everyone can now see the same episode with the same length, this also allows the episodes to feel rushed and, for important scenes to be cut. Even on the DC Universe for some reason. For example, Brec Bassinger, who obviously plays Courtney, tweeted the other day about this, scene about the JSA suiting up for the first time in episode 6. That would have been a really, really cool scene. I mean, most likely it'll be on the Blu-ray, but I would have much rather, longer episodes to see these scenes. I would have liked to have seen it in the actual episode. However, hopefully now that they, know in advance they will be on the CW and the episodes will have to be 42 minutes, the episodes won't be as rushed, and, they'll be able to write around that running time. So there's just 2 problems, and they both happen to be resolved by season 2. So yeah, that's really, really good. And that's pretty much it. I know I said I've got 3 things in this category, but those 3 things were the fake 3 things. I only had 2 real things. But yeah, that's pretty much it I've got for this category. So now let's talk about my overall thoughts on season 1 as a whole. So overall, while in my opinion, Stargirl is not a show I desperately felt the need to watch every single week and I was attached to it, I absolutely loved it when I did watch it. The writing and character development throughout scenes are outstanding, and the overall production quality is on another level. The actors have such strong dynamics with each other and portray the characters marvelously. Iconic DC writer Geoff Johns can add another successful and amazing hit to his list with his awesome tribute to his sister, Courtney Johns. The teasers throughout this first season get me really, really excited to see what will happen in the next, and I really hope we get some good reviews at DC Fandom Part 2 next week. And of course, we'll be having a video on everything we learned from that event, so stay tuned to that if you want to find out all the things we've learnt. So yeah, if you love DC and you love the entire lore behind it, you would definitely find yourself becoming lost in Stargirl. I never thought I'd love it as much as I did. The trailers weren't really that amusing to me, but I somehow loved it, so I highly recommend you will love it if you have not seen it, and I would give it a 9.1 out of 10 overall, and that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications so you guys know when I upload a video. And if you want to discuss more about Stargirl, DC as a whole, all that sort of stuff, feel free to join my Discord server. The link is in the description. And if you want to see more breaking DC news as it is revealed, be sure to follow my Instagram fan page, also linked in the description. Yeah, I thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. My name is Jordan, and I am out. Bye! Let's commence the review for the first season of Supergirl.